Today we fight the Battle of the Soar using DBA. The Battle of the Soar is the fourth installment in our Truceless War battle series. You can see some of our previous battle reports by following a link in the video description. Hamilcar, father of the famous Hannibal, is winning victory after victory in the Truceless War. Still, the war looks bleak for Carthage, and the cities of Hippo and Utica now swap sides. Hamilcar leads the men in his command to seek out one of the rebels' senior leaders in the mountainous terrain of the hinterland. The two armies play cat and mouse among the rough ground for a few years, but finally Hamilcar manages to trap and surround the rebel army at a place known as the Soar. The rebel army, besieged and starving, force their leadership to try and negotiate surrender terms. Once the negotiators enter the loyalist camp, they are taken prisoner, and Hamilcar orders an immediate surprise assault. The rebels are massacred, whether they surrendered or not. Another dark entry in a bloody war. A quick disclaimer before continuing to the battle. We have very little information about this conflict. The scenario most likely does not represent an accurate reconstruction of the events, forces or battlefield. Unusually for our DBA scenarios, not only is there a great deal of terrain, but the battlefield layout is not preset. When the terrain is randomised, however, most of it cannot be placed. The rebels are left with two hills to try and shield them from loyalist attack. The loyalist mounted soldiers will struggle in the terrain. The loyalist army is attacking despite having half the numbers of the rebels. The reason for this imbalance is because the rebel army lacks its generals. This limitation on command and control pushes the rebels to set up in an all-round defence. In response, the loyalist army favours its left wing, hoping to hammer half the army without the rest getting involved. Hamilcar begins the battle with an aggressive forward march. He cannot afford to give the rebels time to redeploy. Because of their lack of general, the rebels are only allowed to move one group for every 2 pips rolled, so can only send a single unit of skirmishers to take the high ground on the first turn. Hamilcar's men seem as shocked by this surprise assault as the enemy, giving the rebels slightly more time to feed reinforcements onto the hill. The loyalist infantry cautiously test the rebel positions, yet the more they delay, the more rebel reinforcements arrive. The loyalist cavalry wait for their support. The rebels don't hesitate, and launch the first engagement, trying to break the loyalist toehold on the hill. The Ligurian vanguard are driven from the slope. This is enough of a shock to get the cavalry wing pressing forward. It seems the whole battle will be fought on or around this hill. The Gallic infantry are particularly vulnerable to cavalry, so the rebel spearmen move to protect them. The loyalists attempt to drive in the most exposed point of the rebel line, but the spearmen are more than a match for the cavalry. Some of the Gauls fall back to make a reserve line. A fresh assault is made on the spearmen at the end of the line. It was only at this point, however, that the loyalist player discovered it was not possible for his cavalry to destroy the spearmen. Seeing a deadlock evolve on the cavalry wing, the rebels bring up reinforcements to the hill to try and win there instead. Hamilcar makes a risky play here and moves his elephants to take over from the cavalry assault. This exposes his cavalry to the potential to being crushed under an elephant stampede, and leaves Hamilcar isolated. The loyalist cavalry are moments away from being flattened by elephants, but at this point arguments break out among the rebels over who takes command, and it prevents any rebel movement. This gives the cavalry the time they need to evade the elephants and protect their general. Meanwhile, the spearmen and pachyderms remain locked in combat, and yet still the rebels bicker among themselves. Thankfully, the confusion doesn't spread to the hard-pressed flank. Hamilcar, his hopes for early breakthrough dashed, hesitates. The rebels smell weakness and make an attack on the cavalry. The supporting cavalry are driven off, and in a dramatic change of history, Hamilcar is slain. With Hamilcar's death, almost all advantage the loyalists held has been lost, and they remain outnumbered more than 2 to 1. The Spanish, jubilant in their victory, attack the Numidians, but in another surprise reversal, the Scutarii are cut down by Narrabas and his men. Heedless of their master's demise, the elephants continue their battle with the spearmen, which continues to be bloody and hard fought. With victory so close, the rebels now begin to argue over the potential spoils, abandoning their spearmen to finally fall underfoot of the loyalist elephants. Having now broken through the line, the loyalist cavalry can begin to isolate and destroy the rebels, and Narrabas bloodies his spear in yet more rebel blood. At this point, both armies are a single loss away from defeat, the loss of the general having a severe impact on loyalist morale. Attempting to stem the Loyalist breakthrough, skirmishers break from cover to threaten Narrabus, while they try to bring their numbers to bear on the other side of the hill. Caught between enemy and elephant, the Numidians are forced to fight their way out of danger. Narrabus makes headway, but he's not out of danger yet. And now the Gallic reserves are able to press home, helping the javelinmen pin down the slippery light horsemen. But, despite the odds, the Numidians triumph once more and run down the Libyan Siloi. This is the straw that breaks the back of rebel morale, and the rest of the army scatters in defeat. It is a Pyrrhic victory for Carthage though, with Hamilcar dead. Does this mean Hannibal will not cross the Alps? Does this mean there is no Second Punic War? Wargaming historical scenarios gives players a chance to explore these what-if situations, and think about how inevitable the path of history really was. If you would like to try this game for yourself, you can find the rules for this scenario in the video description. Thank you for watching this video from Mini Model Murder. Take care and see you soon.